Yes, and so the last session of the day is actually about Metaverse and Web3 use cases, and we're going to focus on the region where we find ourselves today, in Middle East and India, and I'm sure you remember Dustin Plantholt, who is an esteemed master of ceremonies for our stage today, and the moderator, Dustin, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, as we just heard, all right, so this one. Oh, they got me now. There we go. Thank you very much to the IT guy. So we're going to be getting into the last topic. And the last moment, we're going to be going over market opportunities. What this network around us represents. What MENA represents. And I was reading this the other day, that the goal, that your goal, and I do believe this is the goal of MENA, it is not to live forever. It is to create something that will. All around us, we are looking at innovation, things that are going to last hundreds of years. Our panelists, I'd like you to come on up, and we're going to be talking about the use cases that the Metaverse brings. Let's welcome them now. Matthias, come on up. Dr. Mohamed, please join me on stage. Kapil and Karthik. Thank you very much, gentlemen. All right. Now, I've learned, having now moderated a number of these events around the world, from Monaco to Malta, is that when you get to ask questions of a wise man and a wise woman, that is the moment that you gain knowledge. Because knowledge is the new rich. Knowledge is power. And so let's start getting into this world of knowledge. And it starts with how you got here, your journey. Let's start with Karthik here to my left. Karthik, where are you from? And what do you do?
Thank you very much for moderating this panel. I'm originally from India, lived in Scandinavia for 15 years. Part of the P2P Foundation where Satoshi published the Bitcoin client. So one of the first human beings to mine crypto, one of the first human beings to trade crypto. CoinMarketCap, the biggest crypto site in the world, has a documentary on me. So if you put my name Karthik and CoinMarketCap on YouTube, so you'd basically see the documentary. So happy to be here and happy to always be in the UAE. Beautiful country, beautiful place.
Fantastic. And Kapil.
Thanks, Dustin. I'm from India. My name is Kapil. I head the Web3 business for PwC India. We work closely with startups, enterprises, and funds in this space. We are developing our own Metaverse ecosystem as well as we help the startups and the enterprises devising their go-to-market strategies, helping them with their policies and tax regulatory structuring. Really happy and excited to be on this panel. Thank you.
Matthias.
Hello, everyone. I'm Matthias Mende, German, in Dubai since 15 years, in the blockchain space since 2016, currently co-founder at the Dubai Blockchain Center and advising the CEO there. We help like in government education and educational events and stuff like that, just to bring the ecosystem more to the country. And besides that, I'm the founder of Bonuz. We built a huge social engagement ecosystem where Metaverse also has a play, and today we'll have a great panel here. Thank you.
Dr. Mohamed.
Thank you, Dustin. I'm Mohamed Hemairy. I'm an academic with a software engineering background. I'm also researchers in a blockchain and Web3 areas. I'm supporting entrepreneurs and inventors to protect their intellectual property and copyright. So I am IP attorney by practice. Plus, I'm working in multiple research on a blockchain use case and utilities that can make benefits and surfacing the community.
So now as we get to know it a little bit, I'd like to test the knowledge aspect. Because all of them are learners. You know, in life you have two types. You have the knowers, they know. And I have found that inside the blockchain ecosystem and in the Web3 community, there are lots of knowers. And then you'll meet a learner. And Dr. Mohamed, you are one of those. So I'm going to start with the question that I asked when I was in Davos during the week of the World Economic Forum. Is this, what are you learning today?
Well, as you see here, UAE as a country is a new born country. It's not that old in history, but the speed of building and modernizing the society is very fast. Things happening here is very fast, and all the technologies and the latest state-of-the-art practices are adopting here very quickly. That is because of the leadership. That once they believe of something that has a benefit and positive impact on the society and their people, they immediately make this happen. Unlike a lot of countries, even the well-developed countries. So the knowledge we had here is always to see what is the latest happening in the world, be part of it, and also educate our people and especially our new generation in the schools or universities on how to be the entrepreneurs of the future, how to adjust all these technologies and make impact in life.
So, Matthias, you and I were talking as well about this world we live in and the need for there to be the human-to-human aspect, the heart-to-heart. And a little bit about my story. Before I became the Count of Monte Crypto, in my early years, I spent time in foster care. So for no fault of my own, I was born into a family where there was dysfunction. And there wasn't ever going to be an opportunity unless I went out and I found it. And I outworked others around me along the way. Now, when I got introduced to the Metaverse, there were certain thought processes that I had of what I believed the use cases were. Now, does the Metaverse give us this unique way of having what some might refer to as a fair, level playing field, from your perspective?
Well, in this context, there are definitely so many use cases which basically enhance humanity in that sense that their life can be improved, that they can also do an earning. And it's like a whole new dimension born for people to dive in and do those actions. And the payments obviously are also very important in the metaverse, and people connected also all over the world with Android devices, having internet, they can easily participate in those things. And I feel for a better world, if the right things are educated and taught, then in the next 6 to 24 months, we will see a lot of those things happening.
Now I'm going to jump over to you then, Kapil. Kapil, you're with PwC out of India. You know, and I know that, I don't know the exact number of people that live in India, but it's quite a lot. What sort of use cases do you see for the Indian market?
Right. So Dustin, let me talk about the level playing field aspect that you spoke about. I think that's a very fantastic point. How I got introduced to the whole metaverse concept. 4 years back, I was running a music label. I was an independent artist, right? And I was looking at music labels to launch my music. And I was always thinking that hey, there's a lot of commission that I have to pay out. Is there any way I can become independent? And that's when I got introduced to NFT. And that's after that I got introduced to the concept of virtual events. That was the first time I learned about the whole metaverse and NFT concept, right? And according to me, then because of my limited knowledge there, this was the best. This was metaverse, right? But every day I spend on metaverse, every day I invest time, energy, and meet new people. I get to see that the limits, there is no limit to the use cases for metaverse. Today, if you ask me, I would...
There's no limit.
Yep.
Now dig into that. What does that mean? Because we live in a world where it seems like there's limitations, where there's boundaries, where there's borders. You're not allowed to travel.
Right.
You might get someone sick, they might get you sick.
Right.
Is that a use case for the metaverse?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now look at healthcare, right? Telemedicine. When this whole digital innovation started, telemedicine was call a doctor from your mobile. Now using metaverse, you can be with the doctor virtually. There's no limit to traveling. Work from home was a taboo like 2 to 3 years back before COVID hit. It was looked at like, I'm from the consulting industry. We never worked from home. It was like either you're working from office or you're on leave. COVID showed us that work can be done from home as well. Now, Metaverse, this remote working applications which are being built, they are redefining the entire concept of working from anywhere. You get to be with your team in the Metaverse, and it does not feel like you're working from home. Of course, the length and breadth of virtual working is increasing every day. Right? So there is no boundary to anything. Whatever you can imagine can be built inside the Metaverse, and that's the beauty of it, right? Now, there are multiple use cases I can talk about. You spoke about what am I seeing the most in India. Real estate is something which is building really aggressively in India. Now, Metaverse has bridged the gap from what it was. Like earlier, real estate developers would just build VR applications to show the properties. Now you get to be in the properties with your with other participants as well, and there could be virtual salesmen, there could be virtual buying of properties, so many things. Just think of it and it can be achieved.
I love that, by the way. Nicely done. You know, some economists have been talking about that we are at the beginning of what could be a global down market. Markets impacted on a global scale, yet this is a new asset class, a new way of delivery, a new business model. Karthik, what do you see in terms of the use cases around if the world goes to BBB, fill in that block, how does this give someone the edge?
I think it's a very interesting question. Fundamentally, I see the metaverse as a new interface to the internet. You know, like we had the text interface, then we had the graphical user interface. Now we have the metaverse, so we go from 2D to 3D. What it basically allows us to do is to simulate things. You know, how do societies work? You know, so in fact, BlockchainMonk is a consulting company that I run. I also have a fund called Coin Stratagem. So in BlockchainMonk, we are basically tasked to develop a house in one of the metaverses for somebody, like a large villa. And so I was basically talking to the client saying, what do you want? Because it's a fairly large brand and they want to have a villa to represent their brand. And they said, we want to have restrooms, we want to have bedrooms. I said, like, this is the metaverse, you're not going to sleep there. Right? And so the opportunity there is that you can fundamentally reimagine living, working, simulating ideas, social structures, new types of economic models. You know, there's Pavia that's here, whom you backed, and they, they're building a metaverse on Cardano. They have this thing called PAVs that you can go and collect. So there are new types of economic models, new types of incentives, new types of simulations that can happen. And that is what is very exciting for me right now, that you could use as a living lab, to do things.
Beautifully put. And Gandhi had a quote, and he said, live as if you were to die tomorrow, yet learn as if you were to live forever. And that becomes that education and that knowledge gets transferred and passed down to your heirs. So, Kapil, talk about that aspect, the education. Because a lot of people come to their own conclusion, and many of those conclusions are wrong. I will tell you this, we all believe something that's a lie. Something along the way we picked up, because a lie becomes truth over time. A lie told often enough becomes truth. So what are the things that you're hearing right now that you're saying is just from my perspective, from my lens, I just don't see it happening that way? And then how can someone else go out and question it and come to their own conclusion? Because everyone has an idea. Execution ultimately becomes the hard part.
Right, that's correct. So one of the most talked about aspect about metaverse is it being crypto dependent, okay? Now, let me talk about the India geography, where the crypto regulations are not that friendly, and many businesses that I speak with, the first fear they have is, hey, we love metaverse, we love the idea of metaverse, we really like the ideas and the possibilities that you're talking about, but we don't want to be in crypto, and hence we don't want to be in metaverse. Now, this is one thing that I really want to touch upon is, yes, of course, getting crypto inside the whole concept of metaverse and buying NFTs, etc., makes it free, makes it really decentralized. But there is a big amount of development happening with transacting through fiat as well, right? Now, the reason I'm talking about this aspect is this is very less talked upon. And this lack of awareness about this fact is limiting the usability of metaverse as a concept. Now, before, last week I was discussing with one of the sports leagues in India, one of the biggest IPL teams, and we were discussing their go-to-market metaverse strategies. And they loved it. They really wanted to enter the metaverse, but they were like, hey, we can't do it because crypto is involved. right? And then we spent a large amount of time in educating them about what Metaverse is really is. It's not crypto dependent, right? And we can really build a platform, we can really build an entire end-to-end strategy without bringing in the whole crypto angle to it. It's really important. I particularly use this example to talk about the awareness part, that you will hear a lot of stuff about what Metaverse is, what Metaverse is not. You will hear people just building any AR or VR application and calling it Metaverse. That's not the true Metaverse. It's really important to study about it. It's really important to understand the possibilities and what all it brings into picture.
Kapil, you say that the metaverses are, a lot of people think they are crypto dependent, right? But we already have kind of, not metaverses, but games, which been there since 10, 15, 20 years, like Diablo. They are not direct metaverses, but in kind of 3D, they were, you know, people were also transacting in-game. I was selling items from Diablo in 2004, something on eBay. There was no marketplaces, and that would be like the NFTs. So the problem which you said, I think it's very important to solve that it's not that crypto, like the people just take the fundamental blockchain factor for all the transactions just as a layer of trust.
That's correct. Completely in agreement with that fact, you know. And there is also a limitation around this fact when people think about getting their head around the whole crypto market, right? Using of wallet, which crypto to use. Some people believe that crypto is a fad. I don't want to invest in cryptos, but hey, I like the concept of NFTs. I would really love to support an artist, but I don't want to invest in cryptos, right? But so the NFT game is out for me outright, right? That's again something to be dwelled upon, to think upon. No, that's not correct, right? If you are somebody who don't believe in the idea of crypto, NFT and Metaverse is still a very live market for you, right? So hence, to Dustin, your point, it's really important, and I completely agree with you when you say that the importance of learning, the importance of diving deep into it, and not just going by hearsay, right? Do your homework. And especially for businesses, this is the first thing that I tell any CEO that I meet, right? Of course, I'm going to talk a lot about what I can do for your business, but even when I'm gone, have a deep discussion with your team. Share it from your team as well. It's really important.
You know, it's in the difficulty that lies the opportunity. And they say that captains are made on rough seas. Now, anybody can say they're a captain, but you go into rough seas. And this is what I love about MENA. They didn't promise, they delivered. Talk about your leadership here, Dr. Mohamed.
Well, as I just said, the leadership here is very forward-looking about the, making very modern life and style here in UAE. And that's why we have seen things happening very fast. When the blockchain was introduced less than 10 years ago, and even the cryptocurrency and all these other tools, fundamental tools and instruments like crypto trading, peer-to-peer, OTC, there's all these kind of things. Although most of the government around the world did not touch and talk about it, here in UAE we have, the very nice discussion and many steps, rewards, regulation and understanding what is this. Many like governments, central banks, they don't even want to talk to the concept or discuss it and shut down the door. But here we are very open and we discuss it on all levels, consulting, different stakeholders, taking the feedback from users and see if there is a benefit and there is a usability of this, they immediately jump and be the leading in this. You see here, like Dubai, for example, blockchain strategy was introduced a few years ago, 2017. A lot of activities happening, including this MetaWeek here, and there are hundreds, of such events here happening every year. We have also the UAE Blockchain Strategy 2021. We have also Dubai strategy for Metaverse, which was just launched in July 2 months ago. So in this term, I think we are moving very fast. The adoption and understanding is very important. Kapil was talking about the lack of awareness, starting from the government, enterprises, and also the public and community. But here in UAE, we are working on the awareness, most of the time, which really helps to people to understand and start using and make benefit of this kind of disruptive technology.
You know, they embraced a technology that many world leaders were attacking. And I think what happened was that they recognized that it's not for you, it's for your heirs. So talk about that a little bit, Matthias, is that what we're doing today and what we're creating today may not necessarily be for us. We may never see, has anybody ever seen the most beautiful tree? And you went, wow, and it's really old, 75, 100, 200, 300. That was planted long ago. Many people that were around never saw what it became. And that is the story of one's life and the seeds that we plant and the people that we touch.
Could you please repeat the question?
From your side, in terms of the legacy component, for your heirs, what are some of the use cases that you see that can be left for your heirs inside the metaverse?
Definitely online consulting, teaching, language, teaching, like all those use cases where people will have some metaverse experience rooms, like it's actually also just virtual reality because it doesn't need the whole world, but there people will come online, like having a doctor appointment, healthcare, psychology, and I believe that anybody anywhere in the world who is educated in those fields a little bit, probably that's possible with some online classes, will be able, with good English, to finish the courses, get the accreditation certification, and kind of be able to work in this space online and say that he'll take $20 an hour or $10 an hour in a country where people make maybe $100 a month. So I believe that third world countries which receive an extreme boost from all of that, and it will just improve humanity. So as a legacy, what I would take out is to be one of the, with obviously all the people in the Web3 space, to be one of the leaders, and together to maybe help 1 billion of people or create jobs for millions of people and improve their life, help them with food. There are now even payment ways which are so amazing by issuing a credit card on Apple Pay or Google Pay, where you have your kind of MetaMask connected, and you simply just give them the card number and they receive their payments. Banks are actually not needed anymore. And this is amazing, and just a very revolutionary solution for that also came just out 2 weeks back. It's called Oxy, and it really helps people to send money overseas to 107, not send, you just connect the wallet and they get paid. Imagine, they don't even need to pay this transfer fees from Western Union, all those stuff. So I believe we will make it in the next 2 years. This would be the greatest legacy.
And Kapil, you working at the world of PwC, does anybody have a nonprofit that they love, that they support, they have a connection to? What I found was one of the unique use cases around the metaverse was this ability to make a regional nonprofit global. I am the Web3 and Metaverse advisor for the March of Dimes. They're based in the United States, they're now global, and the metaverse is helping them get there. They support moms and babies, premature babies that were born too early, and parents that have lost little ones. This is what it represents. It is not the shilling of a coin or a token. It represents a technology that connects us all, that it gives us the ability to be part of the change, not the problem.
Dustin, I strongly believe that Metaverse is creating the possibility of humans becoming immortal. What do I mean by that, right? Talk about the concept of avatar married with artificial intelligence and machine learning, right? Metaverse allows you to create a replica of, let's talk about any legend, right? A digital replica of a legend which looks like that legend, sounds like that legend, talks and behaves like that legend. And that digital avatar is gonna live on the Metaverse forever. Right? This is digital immortality, and this is the possibility that Metaverse is creating. Now, in religious context, just imagine the possibilities it can create. In business context, I can talk about, I'm working on one of the projects where the CEO of a retail giant in India, he's like a very big public figure. We are creating his digital avatar. He's going to talk like him, speak like him, and he's going to be there on their digital metaverse forever. Right? Anybody who follows that individual can go and meet him and talk to him. Now, this was never possible before. Never. Now, the applicability of this can go across the board, from businesses to religious context to non-profit organizations where you want to create an impact, everywhere.
Karthik, jumping over now to talk about the opportunity. Now we know that there are problems that need to be solved, but some still don't know how to connect those dots. So talk about the opportunity in this.
Well, as I don't know if this works. No, as I was saying before, it's a new interface. So when you have an interface, you can simulate all kinds of things, right? Traffic flows, urban planning, societal congregation, societal communication, social engineering. You could basically simulate a lot of things. So I think the metaverse, at the end of the day, all of these things are already happening in the 2D. People are on Discord, people are on Twitter. I think this three-dimensional extension will give people a more sort of interesting way to participate in collective networks. I call this a generative infrastructure. So what do I mean by that? A generative infrastructure is something where you can, extend this in new ways, new means to achieve new results and new goals. And so we will see a lot of that kind of stuff. Brands will experiment new types of clothing, on people. Real estate companies will try new types of design, get direct feedback from the customers. There'll be new types of models in which, let's say, if you run a focus group of, let's say, 1,000 people, the people could get paid in the token of that metaverse, like, let's say, a Pavia or a Decentraland or whatever that is. So all kinds of interesting things are going to start, which is why you see large brands like Nike buying RFTK. You see other brands acquiring all these companies because, the most important thing is engaging with the customer. You have to be where the customers are. And if the next generation of people are going to hang around in these metaverses, you want to get direct feedback. It's this innovation feedback loop. The idea of figuring out what the youth want and disrupting themselves. The creative destruction, disrupting your own brand, disrupting your own products by, getting direct innovation feedback from customers. So all of these things will happen. Especially in the mass consumer space. And most importantly, on the behavioral side of things, right? Behavioral psychology, collective psychology, group dynamics. I call this, the other terminology I've come up with is called self-organizing digital tribes, where a lot of different types of tribes, online tribes from different parts of the world with different interests, will come on the metaverse and basically share insights, inputs, and they'll live there on these different virtual lands. So there are very interesting things that are happening. I've had a long time to think about this because been in the space for 10 years. There are keynotes from 2011 on YouTube talking about some of these things. And we've been very early investor in Decentraland and other places where we own a significant chunk of land. A lot of that is appreciated because the brands are coming in. They're every day doing the experiments. They're building their stores. They're building their virtual costumes. And we live in very interesting times. We don't have to wait for the next generation. We're going to see this in our own generation. Yeah.
I think we might be down to like one mic. It's been a long day. You said a lot of things in there that I really was able to connect with, because that's what it's about. It's identifying that problem. It's identifying that use case. It's finding that one thing that makes sense to you. There's a lot of people globally right now that are confused, yet they are very curious, and they want to know more, and they want to get information that is going to stay the same. Recently, I was asked by the CEO of Forbes Monaco, I do a lot of articles, I'm the editor, to write one on the metaverse. Now, as somebody that is a metaverse advisor, I will tell you it was one of the most challenging articles I have ever written before. How do you write something that's limitless? How do you come up with all the answers? You can't. Because what's going to happen along the way is that someone's going to identify a problem and they're going to find the solution. And they're going to connect with a community that is like-minded, like them, a little weird, a little unique, a little different. And that idea is going to spur the next. And so as we get now to the bottom, talk about wearable technology. Talk about implants, the kind you put in your eye, not necessarily someplace else. and where this is ultimately going to go. I get asked the question from some of the world's most wealthiest human beings, including celebrities, saying, Ready Player One, Dustin, is that what it's going to be? And so I'm now going to ask you, Dr. Mohamed, you are experienced. You have heard a lot of things. What do you see? Where do you think this goes?
Well, there are two ways, of dealing with technology. Either to not look at the technology and keep it, stay behind, or be in the front of the technology where you can employ it for the use of the people. Let's take an example and maybe use case that we are working now in our research center and launched a platform already. One of them is like the fake certificates. There are many people are faking their, university degrees or letter of experience and so on, and apply for jobs or maybe make benefit out of it. So now using the blockchain and NFT technologies now, our university, for example, now developed a platform to issue all these certificates on a blockchain, NFT as souvenir for the student, and then they can share it with employers. The problem in the past was if you apply for a job and submit your papers, they have to verify it back in your university, in your country, in your Ministry of Education, etc. But once it's been issued and verified on the blockchain for one time only, it will be universal and immutable for lifetime. Nobody needs to check everything because it's already verified and be there. So this is one use case. The other use case is now for the legacy that you just mentioned and the heritage. Now, if someone dies, most of his memories and even inheritance will be vanished and lost. But how the new generation, his grandsons will know what he was doing, the best moment of his life, his achievement, all his intangible and tangible assets that he has. Now, we are building now a platform to NFT all of these, and put them in a blockchain, make a virtual showcase in the metaverse, so the new generation and people who even separated and different continents, they can share and they can visit each other, they can see what is going on, they can share the most beautiful moments in their lives and so on. On the other side, in the economical side, to keep this platform and environment sustainable, we will create a marketplace where people can exchange these things, either physical and maintain the NFT ownership with them, or maybe they can sell them both, or maybe can also donate these assets to the national museums and keep it there. So people who want to see and touch, and the ownership will stay for them by the NFT certificate, and they can sell and trade and exchange them as they want. And this will create a new monetization of things that we never thought of. And the same thing for the education. In the education, since especially in the pandemic, we face a lot of crisis and people they have to disconnect, they have to stay away, and that affect badly on the education, especially in the school, universities, etc. So the learning online and it wasn't really efficient and sufficient enough for this, but now being educated in the metaverse, where people can really sense in 6 senses. And interact with each other in very attractive things, where a lot of gaming and fun can be also happening during in this metaverse world, can enrich the education experience even 10 times what was in the past in the normal face-to-face and physical things, because you are limited by the place, by the time, by the tools. But with the metaverse, it's unlimited at all. So this is one of the really real life use case, and it can really help and have a lot of impact in the training using simulation. Now our medical students in the school, they spend a lot of time using the simulation with their avatars, with the virtual theater rooms to deal with the dead body in a virtual world. And this is really enrich their experience multiple times, where they used to have to book timing and for physical examination and deal with the surgery and train on physical donated dead bodies.
Matthias.
I must say I really love your answer, Dr. Mohamed. And this is the future, what's coming, but on the way there are also so many challenges. Like I could talk about 10 challenges because we're also building stuff like that. And for example, for those tokens and NFTs with the diplomas or souvenir kind of certificates, the issue that, just to know, there are transferable tokens, you know, NFTs, ERC 1155721, and the soulbound token, the 1238 ERC. And that's already a problem because then there are, again, new ways how to create the wallet and then have the, you know, give somebody the wallet, and then which information of a certificate to put even in the certificate to not break any privacy rights because the blockchain is completely viewable. But ultimately, we will get there, and it's a process. And to now answer the same question from my perspective is that, because you, Dustin, you spoke also about devices and chips and things like Neuralink. So I personally believe that if we go really further, next 10 to 20 years, I don't know if it will be very good in all aspects, but I believe that we will be that far that you can just switch off and you are not like in the real world, you are in the digital world. And you don't even see with your eyes. It just happens all in the brain. If humans get that far and cyborg themselves with those upgrades which are coming up from leading tech companies like Neuralink and many others are building on. So it will be definitely a wild future what nobody even is probably ready for. If it's good or bad or dangerous or how far dangerous, we don't know. But let's hope it will be happy and healthy, and on the way many people educate themselves well to not make mistakes.
Well, Dustin, I think there are 2-3 very important points that have been discussed here, right? First of all, let's talk about why is even Metaverse becoming famous or being talked about so much, right? In the previous panel discussion, there was a very important thing mentioned about the adoption, right? There is a widely accepted norm that Metaverse adoption is currently a gray area, whether it is really something that is widely used already or it is that companies are building for the future. Let's come to a consensus that it is a futuristic thing. Currently, the adoption is not that high, and the biggest reason for that is the hardware aspect that you spoke about. We have just one Oculus, which is like the mostly used VR headset that is quite expensive, not for a mass usage. That aspect is one problem which is going to be solved. There are many companies now coming up who are working on making VR headsets accessible. Once that is done, the adoption part from the adoption limitation, let's say to a larger extent, could be addressed. Then the other problem to be addressed is about what we are building. Now, another problem that we are seeing is this whole metaverse development space. We are seeing so many startups coming up claiming to be building metaverse solutions. The space is getting saturated. What difference are you adding? Right? Are you just here to create solutions for enterprises? And what do you call solutions? Right? Do you just call creating 3D models and just avatars a solution for a corporate or for other companies? I don't think so. Right? That is just, you are just following what somebody else has done, and you saw that some other startup made good amount of money creating 3D models, and you are entering that space. That's again not metaverse. That's not right strategy. And that's what that brings me to what Karthik alluded upon. What is the engagement mechanism? If you call yourself a metaverse solution company building for somebody else, it's really important for you to dwell upon what solution are you building for them. And it can't be without having a strategy in mind of what problem are you addressing. It's really important to, first of all, sit down and agree on the problem, not just get fancied by creating a digital replica. No, that's not what this whole ecosystem is all about. This ecosystem is about solving problems that could not have been solved otherwise. When you enter the metaverse, you enter a new set of customer segments altogether. We spoke about in the beginning of the session that the possibilities are endless. You imagine something and you can do it. Use that for creating really engaging customer solutions. Engage customers using the possibilities. And that is where we should be headed. So the question that everybody needs to really ask is, what problem are we solving when we are creating this? We see so many metaverse cities being created, right? Almost every third startup is coming in saying we are creating our metaverse city. What for? What different are you doing in this, right? What is it, right? So that is something that we really need to focus on. To what problem are we solving again?
So, I've been hanging around all these different metaverses. There are about 250 of them right now. I would have spent about time on 10 or 15 of them. And I can tell you there's literally no traffic in except for 2 or 3 of them, right? Except for Decentraland, Sandbox, one or two other. Nobody's there. It's like a ghost town. So everybody and his mother is now trying to build a metaverse so they can sell land and make some money out of it. So history has proven that you have to solve a burning problem if you want to have adoption. And the holy grail of this thing is, why is this better? Why is 3D better than 2D? And as Dr. Mohamed was saying, you can teach people things better, you can visualize, you can have immersive experience. People who cannot travel can travel to long distances on the metaverse. So either it's fun or it's education or it's, there has to be that value, and once that comes in, then this will take off. Until then, there's no point just, building like 200 metaverses, everybody has some game or whatever, and that's all over. The play-to-earn economy just crashed 95% down, right? So what is the top line? What is the bottom line? How are we impacting people's lives? What is the value addition? I think these are questions people will ask. In the last MetaWeek, I spoke about intrinsic value. I also spoke about intrinsic value in NFT NYC, which is like the largest event in the world in New York. And people need to ask, what is the intrinsic value for Metaverse? What is the intrinsic value to you? What is the intrinsic value to your company? How are you going to benefit out of this? And that is the billion-dollar question. So
you've heard it from the subject matter experts themselves, who collectively have over 50,000 hours. They've spent a lot more time in this learning than you have and I have collectively. And many of them outside that you may have heard from, they're all shooting for the moon. Some are shooting for stars. Les Brown, one of the greatest motivational speakers of all time, someone that I listen to religiously every morning when I'm doing my workout. He said this, he said, shoot for the moon, because if you don't make it, you'll still stand among the stars. Thank you everybody for joining us, and to our subject matter experts. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you.